If your breakfast came out of a box, your lunch was unwrapped, and your dinner was delivered with a barcode, you're not alone, and you may want to sit down for this. Over the past 30 years, scientists have quietly, and not so quietly, been gathering data that reveals a startling trend. Diets high in ultra-processed foods, UPFs, may not just be expanding waistlines, they're accelerating the biological clock, wearing down your cells, muscles, and metabolism faster than nature ever intended. It's not just about getting older, it's about getting old sooner. Now, when we say ultra-processed, we're not talking about your grandma's homemade pickles or even your occasional frozen veggie stir-fry. We're talking about industrially engineered, lab-sculpted foods that come with ingredient lists resembling science fair projects, emulsifiers, stabilizers, artificial sweeteners, and that ever-mysterious natural flavor. Think chips, sugary breakfast cereals, flavored yogurts that owe more to chemistry than cows, and basically anything that crackles when you open it but was never meant to crackle in the wild. Over the last 3 decades, multiple longitudinal studies from Europe to the Americas to Asia have connected high UPF consumption with a cocktail of health issues that read like a greatest hits list of aging: obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, and even frailty. But it doesn't stop there. Thanks to advances in epigenetics and aging biomarkers, we can now see the damage in real time through things like telomere length, DNA methylation clocks, and inflammatory markers. And the verdict is in: UPFs are aging you from the inside out. One particularly influential study from Spain's Sun cohort followed over 10,000 adults for nearly 2 decades. The findings? Those in the highest quartile of UPF consumption were more than 60% more likely to develop depression, and that's before we even talk about metabolic consequences. Another study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that people who consumed more than 4 servings of UPFs per day had a significantly higher risk of all-cause mortality. As in, death but faster. So what exactly are these biological aging markers that UPFs are so rudely stomping on? Let's start with telomeres, the protective caps on the ends of your chromosomes, kind of like those little plastic tips on shoelaces. As you age, telomeres naturally shorten. But UPFs? They accelerate the process. In one major study, adults who consumed the highest amounts of UPFs had telomeres that were significantly shorter, even after adjusting for confounders like age, smoking, and exercise. Translation: your body starts acting older than your birthday cake says you are. That's not just premature aging. It's molecular sabotage. Then there's inflammation, the not-so-silent culprit behind pretty much every age-related disease from arthritis to Alzheimer's. UPFs are packed with pro-inflammatory ingredients, refined sugars, industrial seed oils, additives that disrupt gut microbes, and artificial colors and preservatives that make your immune system go. What is that? Chronic low-grade inflammation, known as inflammaging, is a hallmark of accelerated biological aging, and UPFs are practically pouring gasoline on that cellular fire. Physical mobility also takes a hit. In a 2020 study from France, researchers found that older adults who consumed more UPFs were more likely to develop frailty, that dreaded trifecta of muscle loss, fatigue, and reduced resilience. Even after accounting for total calorie intake and exercise habits, the UPF effect remained. In other words, it's not just how much you eat. It's what you're eating that determines whether you'll be spry at 80 or shopping for cane at 60. And if all of this makes you feel like reaching for something comforting, say, a cookie or a bag of cheese-flavored, crunchy shapes, hold that thought. There's growing evidence that UPFs may even mess with your hunger cues by hijacking your brain's reward pathways. They stimulate dopamine release in ways that mimic addictive substances, leading to overeating, poor dietary choices, and a vicious cycle of metabolic damage. It's not just bad food. It's food that's designed to make you crave more bad food. Suddenly, your willpower doesn't stand a chance, and your mitochondria are filing a formal complaint. Even cognitive aging joins the party. Several longitudinal studies, including the Whitehall 2 study in the UK and the Brazilian longitudinal study of adult health, have found correlations between high UPF intake and cognitive decline, including reduced memory, slower processing speed, and greater risk of developing dementia. One theory? A combination of neuroinflammation, poor vascular health, and gut-brain axis disruption, thanks, again, to all those hyperpalatable snacks. So here we are, 3 decades deep into data, and the message is clear. Ultra-processed foods are doing more than just stretching your genes. They're wrinkling your timeline. They're making your cells sluggish, your brain foggy, and your organs prematurely grumpy. You may still feel, young at heart. But if that heart is swimming in high fructose corn syrup and stabilizers, it's probably filing for early retirement. The good news? This aging spiral is modifiable. Reducing UPF intake, even just moderately, has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity, reduce inflammation, and support better sleep and energy levels in as little as a few weeks. Replace sugary breakfast bars with oats and fruit. Swap soda for sparkling water. Discover the magical world of real vegetables. You don't need to go full homesteader and churn your own butter, but you might want to start reading labels like they're tiny medical charts for your future self. And from a public health standpoint, this data deserves a bullhorn. Policies that subsidize whole foods, regulate misleading food marketing, and support cooking education may be some of the most powerful anti-aging interventions available, more effective than any $300 wrinkle cream or boutique supplement you saw on TikTok. So the next time you stare down that foil-wrapped snack cake and hear it whisper, "Just one won't hurt," remember, aging is already fast enough. You don't need your snacks hitting the accelerator.